How you doing, Judy?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Early good Shabbos to you. So Rabbi this year was thinking of putting the holiness code, and he is going to be doing this, and put that part of our high holiness services. The holiness code, has things in it, something to the effect of, a love your neighbor as thyself. And so what I did was we looked at the holiness code, and I culled some questions that are sort of based on this. So the first question is, you hear a lot of this in the holiness code about how do you command honor? So, because you hear about honor and commanding it. So my question is, how do you command honor? How does one command honor?
I think by doing honorable things.
Can you give me an example?
Delivering meals through SOS. Taking care of your children and grandchildren. Conserving water. Living a respectful and honest life.
All right. What if I'm the kind of person who is pretty far from the holiness code, okay? Is it possible for a person who mistreats, is it possible for them to command honor?
I don't think so. Unless they reform their ways and do things to show me and other people that they have changed.
So, have you ever known anybody in your life who may be pretty far from the holiness code? Have you known people like that in your life?
Yes.
Okay. Can you think of one person?
Yes.
Okay. If there's one thing you could remove from that person that would make them more able to command honor, what would you remove? Sorry. What would that thing be?
The ability to lie easily, more truthful.
Could you understand, because there's a lot in the holiness code about fear. You shall fear God. It's in there. And I want to know, could you understand why someone would fear God? Why would someone fear God?
I don't see it that way at all, so I don't agree with that. I feel that God is present in a spirit that's within all of us and everything around us. So I don't fear myself, and I don't fear you. So no.
How do you command honor?
Oh, that you don't. Command is not related to honor in my perception, any more than you can command somebody to be good.
So the question was, could you understand why someone would fear God?
It's just being aware of the power.
How does one command honor?
I feel like commanding honor is about leadership or projecting a good leadership quality, either of honor, which to me that's about authenticity. But I think there's some people who are good at pulling the wool over people's eyes and making them think that they have some sort of authenticity and honor in that leadership.
Can you understand why someone would fear God?
Also, the idea of something out there that sees everything is scary because you can't hide.
Is it possible to command honor?
Well, I think you can't command honor. You can earn honor.
As an imperfect parent, do you still would appreciate that your children honor you?
Yes, I think I've done it. I only have one child, but
Right.
I think I've done enough that I've earned his honor and that I've treated him well and I've treated him with respect, and I get that in return.
That's wonderful. Can you understand why someone could fear God?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at our scripture and you see how stern and how vengeful our God is, I think it just totally made sense for people to fear God.
And you talked about your daughter, right?
Yeah.
And so she's the most important person, right, in teaching her.
Yes.
How do you teach her honor?
I teach with the example.
How do you command honor? How does one command honor?
You mean that people would honor you?
Yes.
I think you command it by honoring others.
Oh,
Yeah, if you show others that you honor them, you get it back.
who you felt is pretty far away from the holiness code?
Yes.
I'm sure we have. Can you think of somebody right now? Don't have to tell their name.
Yes.
What would that person, if you were a magician, what would you remove from that person to make them closer to the holiness code?
Wow. I don't know what I could remove, but I think what I would add is an understanding that everybody is human and everybody has strengths as well as weaknesses, and that you need to look for people's strengths and not always look for their weaknesses.
Could you understand why someone would fear God?
Yes.
Can you tell me why you would understand that?
How much does God know about us and all the inner stuff that's going on in our mind? And maybe if somebody really was in there, or God, or, that's pretty scary.
Does God have the right to command to be honored?
My philosophy is that God says, you are honorable because I am honorable.
Well, what about someone who maybe mistreated you or is mistreating others? Can they command honor?
Even God doesn't command honor. God commands that I command my own honor.
Could you understand how someone could fear God?
Everybody, I think, has feared God. I have feared God. You know when you fear God.
How does one command honor? How do you command honor?
Well, it's a good question, because I don't know if you can command from my perspective. But by saying the word command, it's just to bring the importance of honoring, the idea of honoring. We need a reminder as human to do the right thing. And I think that using such a harsh or extreme word is just to help us to understand the importance of it.
I'd like you to think of one person right now that maybe has not really been all that nice. If you could pluck out one thing to help make that person a little bit more honorable, to command honor out of that person, what would you remove from that person?
Well, I don't know if I want to remove something from that person. I want to remove something from me. Maybe resentment, maybe judgment. Because I think I can deal with me. And by me able to be more compassionate towards that person, maybe understanding, not forgiving, I can help him to see what is it to honor. I can show him as an example.
So can you understand why someone would fear God?
Well, I grew up with this concept.
Right.
The way I grew up, or the values that they pass it to us, is that God will punish you if you're not going to comply, if you're not going to follow the laws. But in a certain time of my life, I said it cannot be. Because if God is all love, I don't see God as an old man sitting with a long white beard, looking down to us and saying, no, no, no. I see God in all of us.
How do you command honor?
From others, I think it begins with respect. It begins with meeting them where they are and helping them to be the best person they can be.
If you could remove one item from that person to bring them closer to commanding honor in thinking about this person, what would you remove?
I would remove anger, I think.
And why is anger, do you think, such a toxic?
I think it gets in the way of self-evaluation. You know, I was raised with a saying that is, if you want to do well in life, you have to do good. And so, you know, there are times when I have shown honor.
How does one command honor?
I respect people that allow me to give them the honor that they deserve.
Listen, you know a lot of people. Have you ever met somebody who really who could learn to be better with their holiness code, right?
Yes.
So think of somebody, think of them. If you could remove one thing from them to make them closer to being a holier person.
Honor themselves. Find love and loyalty within themselves. You know, when I got sick, I really learned a lot about me. And I do have a lot of respect for me, for what I've been doing and where I've been going. And I think honor is very important.
Could you understand why someone would fear God?
Maybe somebody that doesn't understand, I don't know. Maybe it's someone that doesn't trust themselves, so how can they trust something they don't know?
You don't feel that God should be feared?
Oh, no.
Okay.
He should be loved.
You look familiar.
I work here.
Do you? Well, we're very happy you do work here. How does one command honor?
Well, you can't really. You can command steps that would lead to honor, but you can't, I don't think you can jump from this rock to that rock unless you take some baby steps. But there are ways to navigate someone towards the understanding of how important it is to honor, but I don't think you can command to honor. Yeah.
So what about a person who has been mistreating others, you know?
Has been what?
Has been mistreating someone.
Mistreating
Right, yes. Is it possible for that person then to command, honor? Can they do that?
From the person they've been mistreating?
Yeah.
Well, often the person that's been mistreated is, they're not the point. Meaning they're the victim, but it's in a one way, it's kind of not about, like, I've been mistreated, but I know it's not about me. It's about this person's, maybe they're not well. And I mean that in a spiritual, emotional way. They could either be yelling at me or kicking the dog, right? It's kind of irrelevant. I happen to get in the way of their, their anger, but it's really about them. It's not about me. I mean, here's my holiness code. I try and see in the weak and in the strong and in the weak. I'll try and, look in the mirror. And so when I'm thinking about myself, thinking to myself that this person could up their honesty level, then I question myself.
Well, as a rabbi, I mean, has there been times when you think you've helped somebody get closer to their holiness code?
I hope so. And when I say closer, I do not believe that there's such a thing as getting closer and staying there. Mm-hmm. You wake up the next morning, you gotta do it all over again.
Okay. Could you understand then why someone would fear God?
You mean like reward, punishment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for some, that's the way they were brought up. There's a whole, a lot of people in Israel where it was the fear of God, of, well, don't do that, you'll be punished.
Right.
Karma, kind of plays a part.
Right.
In the Christian world, you're not going to earn your, I've heard some of my Christian friends and colleagues, you got to earn your place in in the heavens.
Right.
And all of that. So, yeah, I'm aware of this fear. I personally don't believe that the God of my understanding works that way, but I've seen it and I know it exists in others.